Rome today is a city where the past refuses to stay buried. Stand in the middle of modern Rome and you are surrounded by layers of human ambition. Traffic circles around ancient columns. Churches rise on top of pagan temples. Apartment blocks stand beside imperial ruins. Beneath the streets, there are tombs, aqueducts, sewers, fragments of marble, and the remains of a city that once claimed to rule the world, but rewind almost 3,000 years. And Rome was not an empire. It was not even a proper city. It was a cluster of small hilltop settlements above a bend in the Tiber River, surrounded by marshland, forests, rival tribes, and uncertain borders. What happened in between is one of the most extraordinary stories in human history. Kings and republics, conquests and civil wars, slavery and citizenship, temples, roads, aqueducts, arenas, emperors, assassinations, invasions, collapse, popes, pilgrims, fascists, ruins and reinvention. Rome became a kingdom, then a republic, then an empire, then a memory, then a sacred capital, then a modern city built on the bones of everything that came before. For centuries, people have imagined what ancient Rome looked like through broken statues, weathered inscriptions, surviving ruins, Renaissance paintings, and old archaeological drawings. But now, using AI reconstruction based on historical imagery, architecture, sculpture, maps, and archaeological evidence, we can begin to see how this world may have looked. The muddy banks of the Tiber, the first huts on the Palatine Hill, the marble temples of the Forum, the crowds inside the Colosseums, the smoke rising from a city that had conquered the Mediterranean, only to be conquered by time. You are about to witness almost 3,000 years of Rome in one journey. This is the complete story of Rome. Let's begin at the beginning. According to Roman legend, story begins with two abandoned twins, Romulus and Remus, sons of the war god Mars and a princess named Rhea Silvia, are thrown into the Tiber River by a fearful king. But the basket carrying them does not sink. It drifts to the riverbank, where the infants are found and nursed by a she-wolf. Later, they are raised by a shepherd. When they grow up, the brothers decide to found a city, but they quarrel over where it should stand and who should rule it. The argument turns violent. Romulus kills Remus, and on April 21st, 753 BC, according to tradition, Rome is born. Whether the legend is fact or myth, the meaning is clear. From the very beginning, Rome explained itself through violence, survival, divine favor, and brotherly blood. The real origins are less dramatic, but just as important. By the 8th century BC, small Latin communities are living on the hills near the Tiber. The Palatine Hill is especially important. It is defensible, close to the river, and positioned near a crossing point that connects central Italy to the coast. This is not a grand city yet. It is a rough settlement of huts, livestock, mud tracks, and wooden defenses. The people farm, trade, fight, and watch the river. The Tiber is dangerous, but it is also Rome's first highway. To the north are the Etruscans, a sophisticated civilization with wealthy cities, powerful kings, religious rituals, and advanced engineering. To the south are Greek colonies bringing art, mythology, writing, and trade. Rome grows between these worlds. It borrows from everyone. From the Etruscans, it learns symbols of kingship, temple design, drainage, and public ceremony. From the Greeks, it absorbs gods, stories, sculpture, and ideas of civic life. From its Latin neighbors, it inherits language, farming culture, and a hard sense of local competition. The early Romans are not yet world conquerors. They are survivors in a crowded and violent landscape. Rome's first political system is monarchy. Tradition says there are 7 kings, beginning with Romulus and ending with Tarquinius Superbus, Tarquin the Proud. Some of these kings are probably legendary. Others may preserve memories of real rulers. But the larger story matters because it shows how Romans understood their own political identity. The kings build Rome's foundations. They organize religious rituals. They create the Senate. They expand the city. They drain the marshy valley between the hills, turning it into the Roman Forum. They build the Cloaca Maxima, the Great Sewer, one of the earliest engineering works associated with Rome. The Forum begins as a wet, low-lying space. Over time, it becomes the center of Roman public life. This is where citizens will gather, where laws will be debated, where triumphs will pass, where temples will rise, and where the fate of the Mediterranean will one day be decided. But monarchy does not last. According to tradition, the final king, Tarquin the Proud, rules brutally. His son commits a terrible assault against a noblewoman named Lucretia. Her death becomes a political earthquake. Roman aristocrats, led by Lucius Junius Brutus, drive out the king around 509 BC. Rome swears never again to be ruled by a king. The Republic is born. That hatred of kings will shape Roman politics for centuries. The new Republic is not a democracy in the modern sense. Power belongs mainly to aristocratic families, known as patricians. But Rome now has elected magistrates, annual offices, public assemblies, and a senate that becomes the central force in government. 2 consuls replace the king. Each serves for 1 year. Each can block the other. Power is divided because Romans fear one-man rule. But ordinary Romans, the plebeians, soon demand rights of their own. They serve in the army. They farm the land. They pay debts. They suffer when wars destroy their crops. And they begin to ask why they should fight for a state that gives them so little power. The struggle between patricians and plebeians becomes one of the great internal stories of early Rome. Plebeians withdraw from the city in protest. They demand protection from aristocratic abuse. Over time, they win the office of tribune, written laws, and greater political representation. The 12 Tables, Rome's first written law code, are created in the mid-5th century BC. They are harsh. They protect social hierarchy, but they also establish a crucial Roman principle. Law must be public. Rome is slowly becoming a society where power is brutal, unequal, and deeply contested, but also organized through institutions that people believe matter. Then come the wars. For centuries, Rome fights its neighbors: Latins, Sabines, Aequi, Volsci, Etruscans, Samnites. These are not glamorous wars of empire yet. They are hard, local struggles for land, survival, and dominance in Italy. Rome loses battles. Rome suffers defeats. But Rome has one terrifying advantage. It does not give up. When Rome loses, it rebuilds its army. When enemies are defeated, Rome often does not simply destroy them. It absorbs them, makes treaties, grants partial rights, builds roads, founds colonies, and turns former enemies into future soldiers. This is one of Rome's greatest inventions. Conquest becomes integration. By 390 BC, disaster strikes. A Gallic army defeats the Romans at the Battle of the Allia and marches into Rome. The city is sacked. The Romans retreat to the Capitoline Hill, while the enemy occupies the rest of the city. The humiliation is burned into Roman memory. Whether every detail of the story is true or shaped by later legend, the trauma is real. Rome has been invaded, plundered, and shamed. The lesson is clear: never be weak again. After the Gallic sack, Rome rebuilds its walls and expands more aggressively. Over the next centuries, it defeats the powerful Samnites of central Italy, crushes rival Latin cities, and confronts Greek colonies in the south. In the early 3rd century BC, Rome faces Pyrrhus, king of Epirus, one of the greatest generals of the age. Pyrrhus wins battles against Rome, but the victories cost him so many men that they become almost useless. From this comes the phrase Pyrrhic victory. Rome can lose battles and still win wars. By 264 BC, Rome controls most of the Italian peninsula. But control of Italy brings Rome face to face with another rising power: Carthage. Carthage is wealthy, maritime, and powerful. Its empire stretches across North Africa, Spain, Sardinia, Corsica, and Sicily. Rome is a land power. Carthage rules the sea. Their conflict begins over Sicily, but it becomes a struggle for the Western Mediterranean. The First Punic War lasts more than 20 years. Rome, with little naval tradition, builds a fleet. It learns sea warfare through disaster, persistence, and imitation. Eventually, Carthage is forced to surrender Sicily. Rome has its first overseas province. But the struggle is not over. In 218 BC, Hannibal Barca of Carthage does the unthinkable. He marches from Spain, crosses the Alps with his army, including war elephants, and invades Italy from the north. For Rome, this is a nightmare. Hannibal destroys Roman armies at Trebia, Lake Trasimene, and then Cannae in 216 BC, one of the worst defeats in Roman history. Tens of thousands of Roman soldiers are killed in a single day. Many states would have surrendered. Rome does not. It refuses to negotiate. It raises new armies. It bleeds, adapts, waits, and survives. Eventually, the Roman general Scipio carries the war to North Africa. Hannibal is recalled to defend Carthage. In 202 BC, Scipio defeats him at the Battle of Zama. Rome wins the Second Punic War. Carthage is broken. The Western Mediterranean now belongs to Rome. A third war later destroys Carthage completely in 146 BC. The city is captured, burned, and its surviving population enslaved. That same year, Rome also destroys Corinth in Greece. In one generation, Rome announces itself as the dominant power of the Mediterranean world. But conquest changes Rome. Gold, slaves, land, and luxury pour into the city. Generals become unimaginably powerful. Aristocrats buy huge estates worked by enslaved labor. Small farmers, once the backbone of the Republic, struggle to survive. Rome is richer than ever. It is also becoming more unstable. The Republic was built for a city-state, not a world empire. By the 2nd century BC, inequality is tearing Roman society apart. The Gracchi brothers, Tiberius and Gaius, try to reform land ownership and help ordinary citizens. Both are killed in political violence. This is a turning point. Roman politics has crossed a line. Violence is now a tool inside the Republic itself. Then come the generals. Marius reforms the army, recruiting poor citizens who depend on their commanders for land and reward. Soldiers become loyal not only to Rome, but to the men who lead them. Sulla marches his army on Rome in 88 BC, something almost unthinkable before. He seizes the city, defeats his enemies, and later rules as dictator. Prescriptions follow. Names are posted, enemies are hunted down, property is seized. Heads are displayed. The Republic survives in form, but the old rules are breaking. Then comes Julius Caesar. Caesar is brilliant, ambitious, charming, ruthless, and deeply in debt. He rises through Roman politics and forms an alliance with Pompey and Crassus, known as the First Triumvirate. As governor of Gaul, Caesar wages years of conquest. He defeats tribes, captures towns, massacres enemies, and brings vast territory under Roman control. His own writings present the campaigns as disciplined and necessary. But the human cost is enormous. Gaul makes Caesar rich, famous, and militarily powerful. The Senate fears him. In 49 BC, ordered to give up his command, Caesar makes his decision. He crosses the Rubicon River with his army. There is no going back. Civil war follows. Pompey flees. Caesar defeats him. The Republic falls under Caesar's control. He becomes dictator for life. To some Romans, Caesar is a savior who brings order after chaos. To others, he is exactly what Rome swore never to accept, a king in everything but name. On the Ides of March, 44 BC, senators surround Caesar in the theater of Pompey and stab him to death. They believe they are saving the Republic. They are wrong. Caesar's murder unleashes another round of civil wars. His adopted heir, Octavian, forms an alliance with Mark Antony and Lepidus. They defeat Caesar's assassins. Then the alliance collapses. Antony joins with Cleopatra VII of Egypt, and Octavian turns the conflict into a war for Rome's future. In 31 BC, Octavian defeats Antony and Cleopatra at the Battle of Actium. Antony and Cleopatra die in Egypt. Octavian stands alone. In 27 BC, he takes the name Augustus. The Roman Empire begins. Augustus is careful. He does not call himself king. He claims to restore the Republic. The Senate still meets. Magistrates still exist. Elections still happen. But real power now rests with one man. Augustus understands something Caesar did not. Romans will accept monarchy if it does not look like monarchy. Under Augustus, Rome is transformed. The army is reorganized. The frontiers are stabilized. The city is rebuilt. Temples rise, roads expand, aqueducts bring water. Poets like Virgil, Horace, and Ovid define Roman culture. Augustus claims he found Rome a city of brick and left it a city of marble. The empire now stretches from Spain to Syria, from North Africa to the Rhine. But imperial peace has a price. Power is no longer truly shared. The emperor's character can shape the fate of millions. After Augustus comes Tiberius, capable but suspicious. Then, Caligula, whose reign becomes associated with cruelty and instability. though some stories about him may have been exaggerated by hostile sources. Claudius follows, underestimated by many, but he conquers Britain in 43 AD and brings new territory into the empire. Then comes Nero. Nero begins with promise, but his reign descends into paranoia, extravagance, and violence. In 64 AD, a massive fire devastates Rome. Ancient sources accuse Nero of exploiting the disaster, and later Christian tradition remembers his persecution of Christians after the fire. Whether Nero personally caused the fire is doubtful, but his reputation never recovers. In 68 AD, he is overthrown and dies by suicide. First imperial dynasty ends. Civil war returns. The year 69 AD becomes the year of the four emperors. Galba, Otho, Vitellius, and Vespasian fight for power. Vespasian wins and founds the Flavian dynasty. Under the Flavians, Rome builds one of its most famous monuments, the Colosseum. Officially the Flavian amphitheater, it rises on land once taken by Nero for his private palace. Now it is given back to the people as a massive arena for public spectacle. Gladiator fights, animal hunts, executions, stage battles. The Colosseum is both engineering marvel and theatre of violence. It shows Roman power in stone, blood, and crowd noise. The empire reaches its greatest territorial extent under Trajan in the early 2nd century AD. His armies conquer Dacia and push into the east. His column still stands in Rome, its carved spiral showing scenes of war and imperial victory. Then Hadrian, his successor, chooses consolidation over endless expansion. He builds walls, strengthens frontiers, and travels across the empire. In Britain, Hadrian's Wall marks the northern edge of Roman power. The 2nd century is often remembered as Rome's golden age. The empire is wealthy, connected, and urban. Roads link provinces. Grain ships feed the capital. Roman law spreads. Cities from North Africa to Gaul to Asia Minor build forums, baths, theatres, and temples. But this world is also built on conquest, hierarchy, and slavery. Millions of enslaved people work in homes, farms, mines, workshops, and estates. Roman citizenship expands gradually, but equality is limited. The empire is impressive, but it is not gentle. In 212 AD, Emperor Caracalla grants Roman citizenship to nearly all free men in the empire. It is a massive, symbolic change. Rome is no longer just a city ruling subjects. It is an imperial system claiming to include the world it controls. But by the 3rd century, the system is under immense strain. Emperors rise and fall rapidly. Armies make and unmake rulers. Frontier wars intensify. Plague weakens the population. Inflation damages the economy. Cities fortify themselves. Confidence fades. This is the crisis of the 3rd century. For nearly 50 years, Rome almost breaks apart. Separate breakaway empires emerge in Gaul and the East. Generals fight each other while enemies press the borders. The old imperial order seems close to collapse. Then comes Diocletian. In 284 AD, Diocletian takes power and reorganizes the empire. He divides authority among multiple rulers in a system known as the Tetrarchy. The empire is too large, too complex, too threatened for one man to manage alone. He reforms taxation, administration, the army, and imperial ceremony. The emperor becomes more distant, more sacred, more absolute. Rome, the city, is no longer the practical center of power. That is a profound shift. The empire still calls itself Roman, but its government increasingly operates from frontier capitals closer to the armies. Then comes Constantine. In 306 AD, Constantine is proclaimed emperor by his troops in Britain. After years of civil war, he defeats his rivals and becomes sole ruler. In 312, before the Battle of the Milvian Bridge, just outside Rome, Constantine reportedly has a vision connected to the Christian God. The details are debated, but the result is clear. Christianity, once persecuted, now gains imperial favor. In 313, the Edict of Milan grants tolerance to Christians. Constantine supports the church, funds basilicas, and calls the Council of Nicaea in 325 to address theological disputes. Rome's religious world is changing. Temples to the old gods still stand, but the future belongs increasingly to Christianity. Constantine also makes another decision that transforms history. He founds a new imperial capital in the east, Constantinople. Built on the site of Byzantium, it is strategically placed, defensible, wealthy, and closer to the empire's eastern heartlands, Old Rome remains symbolically powerful. But the center of gravity has moved. By the late 4th century, Christianity becomes increasingly dominant. Under Theodosius I, Nicene Christianity is made the official religion of the empire, and traditional pagan practices are restricted. The empire is still Roman, but it is no longer the Rome of Jupiter, Mars, and the old temples. It is becoming Christian Rome. Then the Western Empire begins to fall apart. In 410 AD, the Visigoths under Alaric enter Rome and sack the city. For the first time in nearly 800 years, Rome has fallen to a foreign enemy. Psychological shock is immense. Jerome, writing from Bethlehem, asks what is safe if Rome can perish. But the city survives. It is battered, poorer, diminished, but not dead. In 455, the Vandals sack Rome again. In 476, the last Western emperor, Romulus Augustus, is deposed by the Germanic commander Odoacer. The Western Roman Empire is over. But Rome does not vanish. This is one of the great misunderstandings of history. Rome falls as an imperial capital, but continues as a city, a memory, a sacred landscape, and a source of authority. The Eastern Empire, ruled from Constantinople, continues for nearly another 1,000 years. Its people still call themselves Romans. In the West, Rome becomes something different. A Christian capital. As imperial government fades, the Bishop of Rome grows in importance. Pope becomes not only a religious figure, but a political and diplomatic force. The tombs of Peter and Paul make Rome a pilgrimage center for Christians across Europe. Ancient temples are abandoned, reused, stripped, or transformed into churches. The Pantheon, once a temple to all gods, becomes a Christian church in the 7th century. That conversion helps save it. Other monuments are not so lucky. Marble is burned for lime, bronze is removed, statues are broken. Ancient buildings become quarries for medieval Rome. The city shrinks, the population, once perhaps around 1 million at its imperial height, falls drastically. By the early Middle Ages, Rome may have only tens of thousands of inhabitants. Cattle graze in the Forum. People build houses inside ancient theaters and arenas. The ruins become part of daily life. Then, in 800 AD, a new imperial memory is born. On Christmas Day, in St. Peter's Basilica, Pope Leo III crowns Charlemagne as emperor. The title is deliberately Roman. The message is powerful. Imperial authority in the West has returned, and Rome is still the place that gives it sacred legitimacy. But medieval Rome is unstable. Powerful aristocratic families fight for control. Popes are appointed, challenged, exiled, and sometimes humiliated. The city is sacred, but also violent and divided. In the 11th and 12th centuries, reforming popes clash with emperors over who has the right to appoint bishops and control the church. Rome becomes the stage for struggles between spiritual and political authority. Pilgrims keep coming. So do armies. In 1084, Norman forces under Robert Guiscard sack Rome while rescuing Pope Gregory VII from the forces of Emperor Henry IV. The city suffers badly. Ancient and medieval neighborhoods are damaged. Rome's people pay the price for conflicts between rulers who claim to defend sacred authority. By the 14th century, Rome faces one of its lowest moments. In 1309, the papacy moves to Avignon in southern France. For nearly 70 years, the popes are absent from Rome. The city decays. Churches crumble. Noble families fight in the streets. The ancient capital of the world becomes a neglected, half-ruined town living off memory, pilgrimage, and local power struggles. When the papacy finally returns, Rome must be rebuilt almost from the ground up. Then comes the Renaissance. From the 15th century onward, popes begin transforming Rome into a capital of art, architecture, and Christian power. They restore streets, rebuild churches, commission palaces, and bring artists from across Italy. Ancient Rome is no longer just a ruin. It becomes inspiration. Humanists study inscriptions. Architects measure columns. Sculptors uncover buried statues. The past becomes a language of power. Under popes like Julius II and Leo X, Rome becomes a workshop of genius. Michelangelo paints the Sistine Chapel ceiling. Raphael decorates the Vatican rooms. Bramante begins the rebuilding of St. Peter's Basilica. Later, Michelangelo shapes its dome, one of the defining silhouettes of Rome. But Renaissance Rome is also corrupt, political, and dangerous. The papacy is a spiritual office, but also a territorial monarchy. Popes have armies, enemies, families, debts, and ambitions. In 1527, disaster returns. Troops of Emperor Charles V, many of them unpaid, sack Rome. For months, the city is looted, violated, and terrorized. Churches are desecrated. Civilians are killed. Cardinals are ransomed. The Renaissance dream is covered in blood. The sack of Rome shocks Europe. It marks the end of one era and the beginning of another. After the trauma, Rome rebuilds again, this time as the capital of the Counter-Reformation. The Catholic Church responds to Protestant challenges with renewed discipline, theology, spectacle, and art. Baroque Rome rises. Churches become theaters of faith. Bernini designs sweeping colonnades in St. Peter's Square, creating a vast stone embrace for pilgrims. Fountains, piazzas, staircases, and processional streets reshape the city. Rome becomes a city of movement, drama, and sacred power. The Trevi Fountain, the Spanish Steps, Piazza Navona, and countless churches turn Rome into a visual argument for Catholic grandeur. But outside the ceremonial beauty, ordinary Romans still live with poverty, disease, flooding, taxes, and political control. Rome is glorious, but unequal. By the 18th century, Rome becomes a destination for the Grand Tour. Wealthy young Europeans arrive to study ruins, collect antiquities, and imagine themselves heirs to classical civilization. Artists paint the Forum as a landscape of melancholy beauty. Travelers stand before the Colosseum and see not only architecture, but the rise and fall of empires. Rome becomes the world's great museum of time. Then revolution comes from France. In 1798, French forces enter Rome and declare a Roman Republic. Pope Pius VI is taken prisoner and dies in exile. The old papal order is shaken. Napoleon later controls Rome and annexes the Papal States. He imagines Rome as part of a new imperial system, one that borrows the symbols of ancient Rome while bending them to French power. But Napoleon falls. The Pope returns. The old order is restored, but not permanently. The 19th century brings nationalism, revolution, and the question that will define modern Italy. Should Rome belong to the Pope or to the Italian nation? For centuries, Italy has been divided into kingdoms, duchies, republics, and papal territories. But the movement known as the Risorgimento seeks unification. Figures like Giuseppe Mazzini, Giuseppe Garibaldi, Count Cavour, and King Victor Emmanuel II push toward a united Italy. Rome is essential. Without Rome, Italy feels incomplete. In 1849, revolutionaries briefly establish another Roman Republic. Garibaldi helps defend it, but French troops restore papal rule. The dream survives. In 1861, the Kingdom of Italy is proclaimed, but Rome remains under papal control, protected by French soldiers. Then, in 1870, the Franco-Prussian War forces France to withdraw its troops. Italian forces move in. On September 20th, 1870, they breach the Aurelian walls at Porta Pia. Rome is captured. The temporal power of the Pope is effectively ended. In 1871, Rome becomes the capital of the Kingdom of Italy. For the first time in more than 1,000 years, Rome is again the political capital of a state claiming national power. But modernizing Rome is difficult. The new Italian government cuts broad roads through old neighborhoods, builds ministries, expands infrastructure, and tries to make Rome look like the capital of a modern nation. Ancient ruins are excavated, celebrated, and sometimes manipulated for political symbolism. The city grows, but it also strains. Then comes fascism. Benito Mussolini understands the power of Rome's past. He presents his regime as the rebirth of Roman greatness. Fascist propaganda uses eagles, fasces, marching crowds, imperial language, and the ruins of antiquity. Mussolini opens grand roads, including the Via dell'Impero, now Via dei Fori Imperiali, cutting through ancient and medieval layers to create a ceremonial route between Piazza Venezia and the Colosseum. The result is visually dramatic, but destructive. Archaeology and propaganda become intertwined. Neighborhoods are demolished. Ancient monuments are isolated as stage scenery for modern dictatorship. Mussolini wants Rome to look eternal, imperial, obedient, but the fantasy collapses in war. During World War II, Rome suffers bombing, occupation, hunger, and fear. In 1943, Mussolini falls. Italy changes sides. German forces occupy Rome. The city becomes tense and dangerous. Resistance groups operate in secret. Civilians face reprisals. In March 1944, after a partisan attack kills German police troops, Nazi forces execute 335 people in the Ardeatine caves. Rome is not destroyed like some European capitals, but it is deeply scarred. On June 4, 1944, Allied forces enter the city. Rome is liberated. After the war, Italy abolishes the monarchy in a 1946 referendum and becomes a republic. Rome is now the capital of the Italian Republic. Post-war decades bring rapid change. The city expands outward. New suburbs rise. Rural migrants arrive from across Italy. Traffic grows. Film studios at Cinecittà help turn Rome into a center of cinema. In the 1950s and 1960s, Rome becomes glamorous again. Priests, politicians, movie stars, journalists, tourists, and workers all sharing the same restless streets. La Dolce Vita captures one version of the city. But behind the glamour are housing shortages, political tensions, corruption, and inequality. Rome hosts the 1960 Olympics, presenting itself as both ancient and modern. Athletes compete near ruins, under the shadow of a past no other city can quite match. The Vatican remains a separate sovereign state inside Rome, established by the Lateran Treaty in 1929. It is the spiritual center of the Roman Catholic Church, drawing pilgrims from every continent. Rome is now both national capital and global religious center. Few cities carry that much symbolic weight. In the late 20th and early 21st centuries, Rome faces the problems of a living city built on top of an ancient one. Every subway expansion risks striking archaeology. Every construction project may uncover tombs, walls, mosaics, or forgotten streets. Preservation and modern life constantly collide. The city wrestles with traffic, tourism, political dysfunction, economic pressure, and the maintenance of an almost impossible inheritance. The Colosseum alone receives millions of visitors. The Vatican museums, the Pantheon, the Forum, the Trevi Fountain, and countless churches turn Rome into one of the most visited cities on Earth. But Rome is not just a museum, it is still lived in. People go to work beside aqueducts. Children play near ancient walls. Apartments overlook imperial ruins. Cafes spill onto streets shaped by centuries of processions. Markets, soldiers, pilgrims, and ordinary life. That is what makes Rome different. Its past is not hidden behind glass. It is everywhere. Rome has been a village of huts, a monarchy, a republic, an empire, a Christian capital, a papal city, a Renaissance masterpiece, a nationalist prize, a fascist stage, a wartime battlefield, and a modern capital. It has ruled and been ruled. It has conquered, exploited, enslaved, inspired, collapsed, rebuilt, and reinvented itself again and again. Its history is magnificent, but it is not innocent. Rome's roads carried armies. Its wealth came from conquest. Its monuments were built by labor, taxation, slavery, and imperial extraction. Its politics produced law and citizenship, but also dictatorship and civil war. Its sacred spaces preserved faith, but also power. And still, Rome endures, not because it remained unchanged, but because it never did. The city survived by becoming many things: a fortress, a republic, a capital, a ruin, a shrine, a symbol, a nation's heart. Today, when you walk through Rome, you are not walking through one city. You are walking through thousands of years layered on top of each other. The stones do not tell one's a human story: ambition, beauty, faith, failure, memory, and survival. Rome was not built in a day, and in truth, it has never stopped being built. If you enjoyed this journey through Rome's complete history, please like this video and subscribe for more deep dives into the cities and civilizations that shaped the world. And let me know in the comments what city you would like to see next. As always, we'll see you in the past.